better economically into the second half of this year. Maybe a little bit of skepticism out there on that front. Let's talk about something closer to home. When you add up the legal fees, time, and resources, a divorce can be a very costly affair. And a new research study is finding that people over the age of 50, it's even more financially painful. For perspective on these so-called gray divorces, we're joined now by Ron Shulman. He's the founder of Shulman Law. Good to see you, Ron.
Wonderful to be here.
So this is a fascinating topic, the so-called gray divorce. Over the age of 50, as I was reading through these materials, fascinating that it becomes much harder for people to recover from a breakdown in a relationship after that age than when you're young.
It's most definitely, we definitely see that from my practice. When we're dealing with people over 50 or what we commonly call gray divorces, they face their own set of challenges, which is different than people who are much younger. The main set of challenges is to maintain the same standard of living they got accustomed to. Younger people are able to recover financially, they're able to earn an income. People over 50 or gray divorces, they're faced with a limited financial pool of accumulated assets. It may be their house, their pension, maybe some other RSPs, but most importantly, it's a declining income base, which they will not be able to recover from. So when originally the plan was, if there was a plan in their retirement, to finance their plans, finance their travels, or whatever they wanted to do through their asset. Now this has to be divided into two, and has to finance two plans, which makes a significant hit on their lifestyle choice or standard of living. And that cannot be recovered through an income or an increase in income, which the younger people are able to enjoy.
Yeah, because the younger people, obviously, they have a longer runway to rebuild their lives. And I imagine, too, the younger you are, the sooner the marriage fails, even if it's the first couple of years, there's not a lot of assets. I can think about the first couple of years of my marriage, and if gladly it didn't fall apart, we've been married almost 20 years now, but if it had, there wouldn't be all that much. Well, sort of the best furniture that was available at Honest Ed's at the time.
Yeah, of course, and that's sometimes the case, and sometimes there are assets, but nevertheless, it's easier to tell someone, look, yes, there will be less assets available to you, but you have a longer run to still recover and plan for your retirement. When somebody is over 50 and you have to tell them, look, you won't be able to live in your house, you may have to rent. You may not be able to finance your children's education in the post-secondary education, or you may have to cut down on your travel. It becomes much more difficult discussion and planning. And that coupled with the fact that many people are ill-prepared for retirement to begin with. So when you add into the mix a divorce, it truly creates a devastating effect for many people.
How difficult is it, when I think about how complicated it must be for some of these assets, particularly pension assets and the rules around pension law? Is that one of the most difficult areas for the so-called gray divorcee?
Well, I would say it's one of the most confusing areas for majority of people who I see. They find it quite surprising to learn that a pension is an asset. Many people feel that they work their entire life, they accumulate their pension, they divorce.
So they just think it's theirs, and the other person has no entitlement. But no, it's an asset. It's part of the discussion. Oh, okay.
Absolutely, and it gets divided, and it may be divided source. It may have to be paid out depending on the assets the couple has. So that's why I find it one of the most surprising things people learn. The other, which I find the impact more significant, especially for gray divorce, is the house. The house often is paid out, and now times we see quite often the children may still be living in the house. They're adult children, but they may still be supported. And the impact on the fact that the house will likely need to be sold, because neither one will be able to afford the significant mortgage which will result from the buyout. So, and those are the two main areas which I find, from my experience with clients, that they find it difficult as well as impactful on their plan.
At the outset of the discussion, we defined the gray divorce as 50 or older. So, of course, there might be some people, at least in that first cohort, who are still of working age. But what about people who are already retired and then they get divorced? Are there special considerations beyond there, too?
Well, of course. The good news is when they're already retired, they have already adjusted to the reduced income level which they're generating. So the lifestyle has already adjusted there. The bad news, however, is that, as I've mentioned about the house, for example, and which may need to be sold, the lifestyle will be impacted. The second aspect to this is the pension itself. It may have to be divided source. There may be spousal support implication despite retirement. and people may find that surprising as well. And then there are tax consequences from whatever is being negotiated. So it does definitely present its own unique set of challenges which need to be navigated.
Now, in terms of a trend, are you noticing in your practice that you're dealing with more or less gray divorces, perhaps over the past 5-10 years?
I would say over the last 10 years, the trend is steadily increasing, and we're seeing many more and more gray divorces, both in terms of people coming in for consultations and in terms of clients who are hiring to resolve and enable them to move on. It's definitely a growing trend.
Very interesting stuff. Thanks for joining us, Ron.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
That was Ron Shulman, the founder of Shulman Law. When we come back, CanTrust looking to pick up the pieces after the cannabis company ran afoul of Health Canada. We bring you